The morning was quiet and calm. The sun had just begun to rise above the hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. A soft breeze moved through the tall grasses, carrying the scent of the river nearby. The cowboy rode slowly along the riverbank, his horse's hooves making gentle sounds in the soft soil. The world felt peaceful, and for a moment, he forgot about the long days of travel and the challenges that came with life on the open land. He had been riding this stretch of river many times before, but there was something different about this morning. The air felt lighter, the birds sang more clearly, and the water reflected the colors of the sky so perfectly that it almost looked like a painting. The cowboy felt a deep sense of calm as he guided his horse along the bank, letting his eyes wander over the landscape. Trees bent gently in the wind, their leaves whispering quietly. Rocks and fallen branches lined the river's edge, some partially hidden under the sparkling water. The sound of the river flowing over stones created a soft, steady rhythm that matched the beat of his own heart. As he rode further along, he noticed movement among the trees ahead. At first, he thought it was just a bird or a small animal. But then he realized it was something different. 3 figures moved gracefully by the river, hidden partly by the branches. Curiosity rose within him, and he slowed his horse even more, trying not to make a sound. He leaned closer, careful to remain unseen, and realized he was watching 3 Apache women by the river, bathing quietly. They seemed unaware of his presence. The cowboy felt a mix of emotions. He admired the way they moved, how natural and free they were in their surroundings. At the same time, he felt a strong sense of respect. This was a private moment, and he knew it was not his place to intrude. He remembered stories he had heard about the Apache people, their strength, their traditions, and their connection with the land. These women seemed part of the river and the trees, moving with the ease of people who had grown up knowing every sound, every ripple, every stone of this place. He debated inside himself. Should he stay and watch, or should he turn away and leave? The curiosity to see more battled with his sense of respect. He knew that any sudden movement or sound could startle them. He reminded himself that he was a guest in their world, and guests should never take more than what is offered. Slowly, he decided to stay quietly at a distance, just observing. He wanted to remember the moment, not change it. From where he was hidden, he could see the women laughing softly, enjoying the cool water on their skin. They moved carefully, almost like dancers, stepping on the smooth stones of the riverbed. Their hair glistened in the sunlight, water dripping down their shoulders. The cowboy noticed small details. The way one woman picked up a leaf floating on the water, the way another gently shook out her hair, and the quiet conversation they shared in soft tones. Every action seemed simple, yet full of meaning. He felt humbled. Here were people who lived in a way he had never known. They had a strong bond with nature and with each other. Their world was different, but it was not better or worse, just different. He realized that life on the open land was not just about survival and travel, but also about moments like this, moments of quiet beauty, moments that taught patience and respect. Time seemed to slow as he watched. The river's flow, the rustle of leaves, the birds' songs, and the laughter of the women combined to create a feeling of harmony. The cowboy felt connected to something larger than himself, something that did not belong to him but that he could witness. He thought about his own life, the days spent riding alone, the challenges he faced, and the people he met. He realized that true respect for others' lives was as important as any skill he had learned on the trail. He also began to notice the way the women worked together. One would pass water to another, helping to wash her hair. They shared smiles and small gestures, showing care and trust. The cowboy thought about his own friends and family, and how small acts of kindness could mean so much. There was a lesson here about observation, patience, and understanding without interfering. As the sun rose higher, the light on the river became brighter, making the water sparkle like tiny diamonds. The women continued their morning routine, unaware of the cowboy's presence. He stayed quiet, feeling a sense of gratitude. He realized that some moments are meant to be remembered, quietly, tucked away in the mind, rather than spoken aloud. The memory of this morning would stay with him, a reminder of the simple beauty that life could hold. Eventually, he knew it was time to leave. The women would continue their day, and he had his own journey to follow. He eased his horse back, making sure to stay hidden until he was out of sight. As he rode away, he looked back once more, not to see them, but to hold the memory of their morning together with the river. The cowboy felt a quiet joy. It was a joy not of taking or claiming, but of witnessing something true and beautiful. The river, the trees, and the women had given him a gift. The gift of understanding that life is full of small, precious moments, and that respect and patience allow those moments to shine. He rode slowly, thinking about what he had seen. He reflected on how he could carry this lesson forward, in his own life, in the way he treated others, and in the way he observed the world around him. The cowboy knew that he would return to this river someday, not to find the women, but to feel again the peace and the quiet connection that morning had brought him. By the time he reached the next bend in the river, the sun was high, and the day had begun in full. Birds flew across the sky, and the river continued its gentle journey. The cowboy felt a sense of calm that he had not known before. He understood that sometimes the most important moments are the ones that are quiet, unseen, and respected. He had learned to watch without touching, to see without taking, and to honor the lives of others in the simplest way possible. The memory stayed with him, clear and bright, like the morning sunlight on the river. It was a reminder that the world is full of beauty, that every person and every moment has value, and that respect and kindness can turn even a fleeting encounter into a lasting lesson. The cowboy smiled to himself, feeling richer for the experience, and continued his ride with a lighter heart, carrying the quiet wisdom of the river and its hidden morning with him. The cowboy rode through the wide-open plains, the wind brushing against his face. The memory of that morning by the river stayed fresh in his mind. Every time he closed his eyes, he could see the sun reflecting on the water, the soft laughter of the women, and the gentle way they moved with the river. It had been a moment of peace and beauty, unlike anything he had ever experienced before. As he rode, he reflected on what he had learned from that encounter. It was not just about seeing something unusual or beautiful. It was about understanding, respecting, and appreciating life without trying to change it. He realized that life on the trail was often busy and rough, full of tasks and dangers. But moments like this reminded him of the simple joys that existed all around him. He thought about the Apache women and their connection to the river. They had moved with confidence and grace, completely in tune with their surroundings. They were free, yet cautious, strong yet gentle. The cowboy admired how they had taught him a silent lesson about living without disturbing the balance of the world. He understood that strength did not always show in action. Sometimes it showed in quiet observation and careful respect. When he reached a small clearing, he stopped to rest his horse. The sun was high in the sky, and the warmth was pleasant. He took a deep breath and looked at the horizon. The plains stretched endlessly, with tall grasses swaying and birds flying freely above. He felt a connection to the land, one that went beyond the work he did and the journey he traveled. The river, the trees, and the women had shown him another kind of connection, one that was quiet and full of understanding. He thought about sharing the experience with others, but he knew he had to be careful. The story was not about gossip or excitement. It was about the lesson it carried. He decided he would tell a trusted friend, someone who understood the value of respect and discretion. The cowboy wanted to share the beauty and the lesson, not the details that could invade someone else's privacy. That evening, as he sat by his campfire, he spoke with his friend about the river. He described the morning light, the sound of the water, and the way the women moved with the river. He did not describe them in a way that would embarrass or harm them. Instead, he focused on the feeling he had, the quiet beauty he had witnessed, and the lesson about respect and observation. His friend listened carefully, nodding in understanding. They talked about how life often presented moments that taught more than words ever could. The cowboy's mind returned often to the river. In his daily routine, he found himself noticing small things more than before. The way the wind moved through the trees, the sound of birds in the morning, or the sparkle of sunlight on water, all these little details became important. He realized that part of the lesson was learning to see life carefully, appreciating every moment without trying to control it. He also reflected on his own life, the people he met, and the choices he made. He thought about how respect and patience could make a difference in interactions, whether with friends, strangers, or people from other cultures. The encounter had reminded him that everyone had their own life, their own world, and their own private moments. To truly understand life, he needed to watch without interference and learn without judgment. Days turned into weeks. But the memory of the river remained strong. Whenever he passed a stream, pond, or riverbank, he felt a quiet sense of connection. He remembered the gentle laughter, the movement of the water, and the quiet strength of the women he had seen. Each time, it reminded him of the lessons he had learned: patience, respect, and the beauty of observation. He began to think more deeply about the people he met on his travels. He noticed their habits, the way they worked, how they cared for each other, and how they connected with their surroundings. The encounter at the river had opened his eyes to the importance of observing life fully, without interfering, and of appreciating the quiet strength in everyday moments. One day, while riding through another stretch of land, he came across a small group of children playing by a creek. He watched them from a distance, smiling at their laughter and energy. He did not approach immediately. Instead, he allowed them to enjoy their play, realizing that some moments were meant to be experienced fully by those living them. He learned that observation itself could bring joy, even without participating directly. As he continued his journey, he felt a growing sense of wisdom. The cowboy understood that life was made of countless small moments, many of which went unnoticed by those too busy or impatient to observe. Each quiet sunrise, each river, each gentle interaction carried lessons if he was willing to pay attention. He thought about the Apache women again and the way they had moved with the river, and he felt gratitude for having witnessed it, respectfully. He also began to consider the idea of humility. The encounter had reminded him that no matter how experienced or knowledgeable he was, there was always more to learn. People lived in ways he could not fully understand, and that was okay. There was beauty in learning to see without judging, to respect without intervening, and to appreciate without possessing. As the days passed, the cowboy shared his lessons carefully with others, using stories of rivers, landscapes, and quiet mornings to teach about respect and observation. He did not focus on the people he had seen, but rather on the feelings and insights that came from witnessing life respectfully. His friends listened and reflected. And slowly, the cowboy realized that the lessons he had learned were spreading, helping others appreciate the small, meaningful moments around them. On another morning, he returned to the river where he had first seen the women, though they were not there. The water sparkled as before, the trees swayed gently, and birds sang in the branches. He dismounted his horse and walked to the riverbank, feeling a sense of peace. The river was the same, but he was different. He had changed. He had learned to value moments quietly, to observe without intruding, and to honor the lives of others. He knelt by the water and let his hand touch the cool surface. He remembered the morning he had first seen the women, the way they had moved, the quiet confidence they had shown, and the laughter that had filled the air. The memory made him smile. He realized that some lessons did not need to be explained. They needed only to be felt and carried forward in how he lived his life. As he rode away from the river that day, he carried with him a new sense of awareness. Every journey, every river, every encounter could teach something if he watched carefully and acted with respect. He thought about the people he would meet, the paths he would take, and the quiet moments that would come and go. He knew that life's most valuable lessons often appeared in the simplest ways, through observation, patience, and understanding. The cowboy continued his journey, riding across hills, plains, and forests, always keeping the river and the morning he had witnessed in his heart. It reminded him to move with care, to notice beauty without taking it, and to respect the lives of those around him. In every step, in every small action, he felt the quiet strength of those women and the river that had taught him so much. By the end of his journey, the cowboy had grown wiser, not because he had seen extraordinary events, but because he had learned to truly see what was already there. He had learned that life was full of lessons hidden in everyday moments, waiting for those patient and respectful enough to notice them. And he knew that the memory of that river and the morning of quiet beauty would stay with him forever, guiding him through all the days to come.